the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Completely different person.
It's not good.
Evan, left turn here. Chase Young is now a San Francisco 49er. Steve Wilks has been on your hate watch for the last couple weeks with what's going on with the Niners. We didn't have you on last week. You're on a little bit of a losing streak. Brock Purdy getting some questions about how he's played. What have you seen from the Niners over the last few weeks? Why was a bye important for this group? How do you think Chase Young will ultimately fit with the defensive line depth? Where are you at with the Niners going into this week?
I mean, the bye helps because Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel needed the time to get healthy. Deebo was back at practice today. Trent Williams was not, which is a little scary, but, we'll see. What I will say is, although the sacks have not been there, Nick Bosa has had a fantastic season so far. Just if you're actually watching the reps and watching the film, like he's creating pressure over and over and over again, but nobody else on the other side of the ball was able to do that. There were so many clips where you'd see Nick Bosa just an inch away while, Drake Jackson, the second-year rookie from USC, or the second-year player from USC, was just like 15 yards away, like just thrown into the oblivion. So I think Chase Young, in his own right, he's had a fantastic season so far. This is like the highest pressure rate that he's had ever as a player. He had something like 15 pressures or something like that. He's had a good year on his own. And that team in itself has always had a good defense. Jonathan Allen has been playing really well for a long time. They had Montez Sweat. It's not the same. I think he's going to go into the 49ers defense, no matter how bad Steve Wilks is or how bad Steve Wilks is while he's trying to implement DeMeco Ryans' defense, which is apparently what the case has been. Multiple people that I know, just as fans and people that are a little bit more knowledgeable of the situation have just been like, he's trying to implement a defense that's not his. I don't understand how we've allowed that to go that long. Cause like, if you're watching that product, it's like, okay, well, this can't be the solution. But then they went and traded for Chase Young. So last year they traded for Christian McCaffrey. They traded a 3rd round pick. They got Christian McCaffrey, and every single game after that, he was a playmaker. He was a difference maker, arguably made a lot of mid quarterbacks look really good. And again, I think Chase Young is going to come in and play next to Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead. And he's going to dominate. I mean, it's hard not to have insane expectations. It's really hard. When you think about them trying to stop Nick Bosa, now they have to stop Chase Young. So unless Chase Young gets hurt, I just really don't.
A large possibility.
Right. I mean, I get it. I'm saying if that happens, then that happens. But if he stays healthy, he's going to have the easiest situation that he's had in his entire NFL career. Let me before you guys go, let me also say, Sam Womack, the 49ers cornerback, who basically has been out the entire season so far, came back to practice today. The 49ers' biggest issue on defense has been their defensive backs. And they're getting them and that Darren Luter Jr., who's fine. He's not great by any means, but they're getting 2 defensive backs healthy. And I think that is going to also help, because the biggest problem is they're getting pressure, but they could just throw quick passes and it doesn't matter. All of this is going to help.
So my biggest thing for why this is going to help Chase Young is Chase Young will always be playing teams that are going to be up against his own team, because you lose the ability to do really pass rush as often when you're always down and teams can just run the ball and kill clock. So now with the 49ers, he'll be able to actually pin his ears back, get into more downhill attacking defense. I do think the point about Steve Wilks trying to run DeMeco Ryans' defense is it's evident, but it's also like he's trying to add his own tune to it, because last year with DeMeco Ryans, the 49ers obviously played a lot of quarters, a lot of quarter half. This year, not as much. It's been a lot of cover 3 and a lot of cover 1, which is partially why the DBs haven't looked as great. because, like you said, the pressure is getting there, but you're playing a lot of off man and a lot of off cover 3. It's not as aggressive and up front. So I do wonder
While
how that's
also
gonna...
blitzing constantly.
Oh yeah, a lot of blitzing, and a lot of off man. It's great that you have all the dudes, but offenses have answers for that nowadays. The biggest thing for 49ers, though, is getting Deebo Samuel back healthy, because it was evident without Deebo Samuel, the offense could not move when they couldn't run the ball. And against the Bengals, they couldn't run the ball because the Bengals have a legitimately great defensive front, and they were able to get into looks that negated a lot of the outside zone runs. How that works is, okay, the 49ers normally, when the run game isn't working, they can just do the Deebo screen pass or the Deebo RPO, which is basically just an extension of that run game, and be like, okay, Deebo will do something after the catch, and that'll be our run game. That'll get you 6 yards on first down. So them not having that put a lot more pressure on Brock Purdy's shoulders to do things in the early down passing game, which he does not have the ability to do yet. So it's going to be interesting, especially next week, because the Jaguars have one of, if not the best run defense in the NFL. So I'm excited to see it. I do think Chase Young is going to be good in San Francisco. It's going to be really fun.
Seems like Brock Purdy has to outplay Trevor Lawrence to win this game. Like, he has to have a really good bounce back Brock Purdy game.
I don't know if it's necessarily like Brock Purdy has to outplay Trevor Lawrence. It's Brock Purdy cannot fuck up. Don't do stupid shit, because in the past few weeks, Brock Purdy has done some real stupid shit. And it's not like he hasn't done stupid shit at all this season. He's thrown a lot of passes that should have been intercepted.
Teams are just starting to catch him.
Now you're playing DBs who can actually catch. And you don't want to do that against a Jaguars team who also forces a lot of turnovers.
But this is why you go and get away and go back home and go to the cornfield. That's why you're plowing in your off week. That's why you're doing that. The man got away. He had to clear his brain. He's throwing too many picks. He's too in his head. He needed to get away.
Not the first time Brock Purdy's been at the wheel of a machine, an unstoppable machine that only had to just steer the wheel.
Wow.
Wow, that was good. I like that.
Wow.
I gotta ask, like, we play the Jaguars. This is coming. It's starting this week. What do you think the biggest areas of opportunity are for the 49ers?
Against the Jaguars, if they can get early down passes, they have to throw the ball on early downs. You cannot run the ball on early downs against the Jaguars. They are one of the best teams in the NFL at running the ball on early downs, regardless of who they play against. That's their entire MO. They play heavy on defensive fronts on early downs to try and get you into second and long. And then what they'll do is, they are not like the Giants or the Vikings where they will blitz relentlessly. They are going to send sim pressures and zone blitzes and make you think that one guy's coming from one area and then bring a guy from the completely the other side. It's less like the Giants and Vikings and more like how the Bengals played the 49ers. I think the biggest opportunities are, you cannot let them the Jaguars get into a position on defense where they can get into those pressure looks. You have to force them to only win with 4. You might also want to help the right tackle, because Josh Allen is playing the best football of his career. So that's going to be the biggest thing. On offense, you have the advantage up front. Like, that's the Jaguars' biggest problem, is the blocking has been inconsistent. But I do wonder if you see, from Jacksonville perspective, a lot more under center play action, because that's really what has hurt the 49ers defense in the past couple of weeks. That's the best way to get an aggressive defense like the 49ers with weakness at defensive back, off step, off balance. You slow down the pass rush by running play action. And the Jaguars love throwing the ball vertically off play action. They'll line up in like 12, 13 personnel, and they'll max protect, and then they'll just throw deep off play action. Trevor Lawrence has been one of the best deep ball passers in the league this year. You have to win up front against this team in order to beat the Jaguars offense.
I like it. Jarrett, who you got? Your MVP leader right now is who?
MVP leader right now. That was a good question. If I had to pick one, I mean, right now, the obvious ones are going to be, it's going to be Tua, it's going to be Mahomes, it's going to be maybe Jalen Hurts. I think it's going to be one of those three that do win it because you look at how he was played this year in terms of he leads the league in passing yards. I think he still leads the league in touchdown passes. But a lot of that's going to be a caveat in terms of
not Burrow in your top three because I think Burrow might. I'll say mine, but yeah,
Burrow is playing his way into it right now.
We